All right. Okay. How's it going, everybody? Zander Fryer here. I'm actually out in Nashville right now, Nashville, Tennessee, and Patty Aubrey and I, who I'll get to in a second, Patty and Aubrey and I just spent the last 3 days hosting mastermind retreats out here with some amazing coaches, some amazing individuals, helping them pretty much just get their shit together. So I actually asked Patty if she would hop on with me and just give you guys, some amazing content around her life, how she was so able to be so successful. So if you don't know who Patty Aubrey is a multiple New York Times bestseller. She's the former president and CEO of Chicken Soup for the Soul, the former president and CEO of the Canfield Training Corporation. Anything else that I'm missing? There's a long list.
I have my shit together,
okay,
but hypothetically speaking, Chief Visionary Officer of Goal Friends Global, and really been in partnership with Jack now for 29 years.
Yeah,
long time. Published 230 book titles at Chicken Soup for the Soul before selling it in 2008.
Sold a few of them.
Yeah, sold a few, but didn't start that way.
Yeah, so I've been working with Patty, and she's been such an inspiration. For me in my life, especially as, she's seen me from my business when it was absolutely nothing to getting to where it is right now. So honestly, I feel so grateful to have you on right now and speaking to everybody that's in this group. But I would love for them to hear your story because it's so inspirational. And then I have a few questions that I would love to ask you that I think would really help everybody out there, if you don't mind. But if we could just start off with your story, I think everybody could definitely learn something from it. So
from the beginning?
As far back as you're willing.
Days the dinosaurs started?
As far back as you're willing to go.
Okay. Well, I guess I would start with I didn't know anything about self-help, and I worked in the IT field. I kind of grew up in the pharmaceutical industry.
That kind of sounds familiar. Yeah.
Grew up in the IT field, and then really knew I hated it, and decided to move to LA. I was actually living in Santa Barbara, California. I was married to my ex-husband. He wanted to get into sales in tech. And nobody would hire him because he didn't have any experience in sales and tech. So he moved back to LA to sell cars with his degrees from NYU or wherever he went, and which is kind of strange. And I went on to look for a job in the LA Times. And so I looked and I found it said, I had set a goal. I'd gone to one workshop, and I'd never gone to a workshop. I was 23. I set a goal to make $25,000 a year. So a long time ago. I was making $14,800 a year.
Yeah.
And I set this goal, went to a training, didn't know what a goal was, figured out what a goal was, wrote it out. And about 4 weeks later, I'm looking through the paper, the LA Times, and I see secretary wanted $25,000 a year. And so I thought, I never wanted to be a secretary, but for $25,000 a year, call me whatever you want, just pay me.
Yeah.
And so I went down, I interviewed this guy, kind of a strange, kind of woo-woo, whole 9 yards. And he was teaching something about self-esteem, and he taught in classrooms. And I left there thinking, I'm still not really sure I know what he does, because he didn't do the 3 things that you teach your students.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure what his delivery really was. Anyway, long story short, I didn't get the job, but it was Jack Canfield. So about 3 months later, he called me and said, I think we're supposed to work together. I just feel like there's a fit here. And I said, well, all right, but it's going to cost you. I want $30,000 a year. Now, mind you, I'm still making $14,800 a year. And so he said, okay. Yeah. And that was the beginning of a 29-year, I call it Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at Disneyland.
Yep.
So started there, came in, really looked at the whole company. There was really not a company. I had a desk that had 2 filing cabinets and a board. It was an old door. And there was a couple people working there, and if you got out of your chair to go to the bathroom, you lost your seat because there was 3 seats and 4 butts if Jack was in town. And we were teaching and selling this self-esteem in the classroom curriculum guide. That was basically it. And he was gone so much, so he would leave, and then I would just sort of take over. And I'd never been in an environment where I got to be my own boss.
Yeah. And
suddenly it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm looking around, and he's doing overheads, like on a. You're probably all too young.
Like the clear, and you're right now with
with crayons. And so I'm thinking, I could put these into PowerPoint and then, of course, print them out, and hope that the copy machine doesn't fry up, because then they start to, it's crazy back then. So I did all that. I took all the data out of these old, I think they're called Alpha Micros, dumped everything into a Mac, networked the Macs, got a laser printer. It was like, oh my God, no more dot matrix. And everything was great. We got a loan, we got an office. And then the Gulf War hit in 1991, and we were in the middle of this book that we didn't know what we were calling it, and we were working on it. He was speaking, but then all of a sudden everything dried up, and we had no money, and people were canceling gigs left and right. You know, when there's a lot of stuff happening in our world, people don't want to travel, they get scared, and we had
definitely don't want to invest in their own personal development or anything like that.
Well, no, I mean, and we were doing a lot of gigs for other school systems, and so budgets were being cut. It was all kinds of stuff that was happening. So we were basically broke, and I was making $2.30 an hour for about 2 years. And
so for everybody out there that's been struggling, Patty Aubrey had to struggle at $2.30 an hour for about 2 years. All right.
I mean, literally, we couldn't pay our toner bills. I mean, here we are trying to print manuscripts to get a book, to get a book published. I couldn't pay the rent, so I'm negotiating with my landlord. Hey, we're good for it. Don't worry. And I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like 25. And so we just kept on going. We kept on visualizing. We had stickies all over the office, kind of like what we did here today. Only now they have the big stickies. We had little stickies, and we were doing all the things, do the rule 5, visualize it. And Mark would say, Ms. Aubrey, you have to visualize. Visualizing is realizing, and you have to see it to believe. You have to believe it to see it. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. We said, if we don't make this work, we can always start a church. And it literally got so bad that our they probably heard the story, but our agent gave us the book rights back and said, I cannot sell this book. And so Jack and Mark said, okay, we're going to take a bunch of manuscripts and go to Book Expo. I think then it was called ABA, American Bookseller Association. And we're just going to go booth to booth to booth. Because we were so far down the road. The book's done. We had no clue that maybe somebody wouldn't want it.
Do you guys have the name for it at this point?
We did have the name. We had Chicken Soup with a Soul, which was interesting also because people thought it was a cookbook. Yeah. But they went from booth to booth. But the really ironic thing, which I just found out recently, was that Jack called some guy that he knew and said, hey, can we kind of set up camp in your booth? We're going to go. We're trying to get our book published. And he said, sure. And so they went for the whole weekend. They just kept reloading their backpacks out of Jack's purple van. I say it looked like Barney. Seriously, it was a Dodge Caravan. And it literally smelled like boxes because we were always taking boxes back and forth. So they go and they spend 2.5 days. They get no result. They get no after no after no. And finally, this guy, where they had been setting up shop, follows Jack out to the parking lot and says, hey, by the way, I'll sell your book, or I'll buy your book, I'll publish it. And Jack said, well, he was kind of a recovery publisher and not really the genre. And Jack said, well, you have to read it first. I don't want you to publish it if you don't like it. And so he took it to the airport with him as he was going home, started to read it, was crying his eyes out in 3 stories, called him and said, I absolutely want to publish this book. Yeah. So the moral of that story is, so often everything we need is right in front of our faces. So here was the answer, yet they went around the block like 18 times. Yeah.
How many no's did you guys hear?
Oh God, we had 144. I mean, we went to every kind of publisher there was possible. And so that was the beginning of Chicken. And so we thought, okay, this is awesome. We're finally getting a publisher, and the manuscript's done. We send on the 3rd galley, and I think, oh, my life is gonna be so easy now. And then Jack says, all right, now we have to market it. I'm like, what does that look like? Because remember, we're making this up as we go. Okay, no plan, no clue.
Welcome to the entrepreneurial world, right? Just make it up as you go. We'll figure it out as we go down the route. Yeah.
So we started to create a plan, and then and we kept trying to create a plan. And people would say, what is that you're talking about? I mean, to the point where I was so obsessed. I mean, I was completely obsessed, which I think you have to be. If you're not obsessed and passionate about what you're doing, it's not scalable. Yeah. Because if you don't love it, then you can't get through those hard times. Yeah. My friends would say, you
have to have the fire in here, because it's not going to be able to come from out there. Absolutely. You got to have the fire in here to push through whatever the hell, all the weird, crazy shit that you have to go through. Mm-hmm. It's got to come from in here.
It's true. Yeah. My friends would say, can you come over tonight, but don't talk about that weird thing you're working on. And then when we started to take off, like, hey, this is my friend Patty, she's the president of Chicken Soup. Like, wow, fair weather friend. Yeah. Don't hang out with those either. But it took us about 1.5 years before we actually hit a list. And so the whole time that we're trying to promote the book and get it out there, we're buying books from our publisher. And so now we owe him like up to, I think, upwards of like $500,000. Yeah. But he sees, because he's been there before. So when you've been someplace and you recognize a trend, you support the trend. Yeah. But when you don't know, you don't know. And so we would just take books, we'd sell them in the back of our training rooms. We would look for other trainers that would sell them for us. We'd buy them at $6, sell them at 12. And it took a long time. I think December, we were published in June of 93, and in December of 95 we hit a list. And I would say the next year at some point we finally got a big check.
Yeah.
And it was a miracle. It was really kind of a miracle. And
oh my God, I don't have to eat ramen and eggs anymore.
Right, exactly, pretty much. I mean, yeah, we were both, yeah, it was bad. But at the same time, it was okay, because the other thing that we knew was that we knew we had a good product because we've been telling the stories to people around the world.
Yeah.
And so often authors, they don't tell their story enough. Or their stories, or their content.
It's scary to get out there. For a lot of people, that's one of the biggest fears. Is you gotta get it out there.
You do.
You're afraid of being judged. You're afraid of being rejected. You're afraid of whatever it is. And if you don't get it out there, you're never gonna know. And nobody's gonna be helped.
No. And the other piece of that puzzle is, if you want to write a book, you want to test your content on as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Because that's when you get feedback right away. So I knew for sure that people love the stories. So I didn't really have a doubt in my mind that it wouldn't work. It was just, when is it going to work? And what else do I have to do to make it work?
When's everybody going to finally catch on?
Oh, and you have to make it, like, it is such a laser focus. I would go to the nail salon, like, hey, you want to sell my books here while people are waiting to get their nails done? And my manager's like, yeah, why not? You know, an extra $6 for her times 12 books in a box, whatever it was pretty good money.
Yeah.
Same thing with my hair salon. Like, hey, you want to sell books? And then people would come to my office and try to sell me things. I'd say, I'm not really interested, but you should really take this book and go sell it. And so I would just flip it
But
around.
then they'd read one chapter and be like, okay, let's do this.
I literally had this guy come in. You know those people that come in, they leave like a package at your office and say, if you want these boxers or ties, like have people fill out. It's kind of a B2B model. This guy came in and he was selling like kids' toys or something. And they leave one, and then everybody writes down their name if they want one. And I said, no, take this book back to your boss. And so he did, and they agreed to do a test with 5,000 units. And I was like, this is going to be amazing. I mean, they were in 40 countries. They did so much volume. And he called me after the test. He said, you know what, you missed it by 1/10%. So we're not going to move forward.
Wow.
And then every year I saw him at Book Expo of America, and he would put his head down and be like, oh. And I still talk to this guy today, Mike Roberts. If you're out there listening, I'm saying hello right now. Because he was about my age. Yeah. And so we were both really young, kind of where you are today, a little bit younger. And we know it's not an option. I mean, what else were we going to do? Yep. You know, we didn't have a whole lot of choices. So we just went for it. But I think the biggest things are, what we did was we focused on what we wanted. We spent 5% of the time focused on, if this totally crashes, what do we do? We have a plan B. And then we looked at, what goals are we going to set? What actions are we going to take? And what's the step-by-step process to do it? Yeah. And if we don't know how to do something, who knows how to do what we know?
And that's huge.
Jack and Mark especially, they interviewed Harvey McKay, Brian Tracy, all kinds of Jim Rohn, like a lot of people that had been there before we had, to find out what did they do and what would they do differently. And it's important. I mean, I remember when David Bach came out with Start Late, Finish Rich. Yeah. And I spent 5 or 6 hours with him, and he grilled me on, tell me everything I need to know to make a bestseller, and tell me everything I don't want to do that you did. Because we made every mistake in the book. Yeah. But we never gave up. And that was a big part of it.
So how many books did Chicken Soup end up selling?
We did 230 book titles before we sold the company. Yeah. And we probably were upwards to about 300 million books in sales. Yeah. And then I think there's been a couple 100 million more in China. So I don't know
half
count those.
I count them. 500 million.
Yeah, 500 million. And we did 230 marketing plans for because every book had a plan. Yeah. Yeah, and you wanted to niche it. You looked at the time of year, and at any given time we would have between 5 and 18 books in production. And you also, one of the things that's really important when you're starting out is you want to surround yourself with the right people, and then you want to act as if it's going to be successful. So if you do that, you have the right accountant, you have the right support team, and you have a plan. So when the shit hits the fan, and suddenly you're famous, and everyone comes out of the woodwork and says, oh, I want to do this title, or I want to do that title. You basically say, thank you very much, and I'll get back to you. Yeah. And you never say, okay.
Well, I think that's so important too, because a lot of the time, there's a lot of us out there that we've learned all these self-development skills like setting goals and visualizing and affirming and things like that. But one of the key things that you just mentioned is acting as if it's already happened, right?
Yeah.
Really acting in integrity with that dream, which for most people, they can set the goal and they can dream the dream and they can put that blueprint together, but then they act totally differently. They act out of fear. They act as if they're going to always be, making pennies and scraping by, paying month to month, rather than just really acting as if that was true, right? And I think that's a big thing for a lot of people, and why a lot of people don't actually see that success.
Well, and I think lots of times too, when we're starting to plan and try to think big, it's a new habit. Our parents don't say, think as big as the sky, and we're taught to be put in a box in school and be good in this and be good in that, and don't collaborate, that's cheating.
Yeah.
So it's this whole different world
man.
as an entrepreneur, and so I think it's really important to get every idea you can out on paper, every crazy idea possible, and I say this, you heard me say this probably 300 times in the last 3 days.
Yeah.
Don't edit your dreams before they come out of your mouth. If you want to go to New York, go to New York. Don't think you have to stop in Arizona and Ohio and come back to California and then go, because for some reason you have to visit Aunt Sally and something.
Somebody has told you that you need to do this
Yeah.
first, and this is the way you have to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of times we justify what looks logical, but if we just stay focused on what we want, and we're really visualizing it, we're affirming it, we're sharing it with everybody. We share our dreams with everyone.
Yeah.
If you don't share your goals with people, nobody can help you.
Yeah.
And so lots of times, I'll say, well, how many people have you told about this new big goal we have in there? Well, no one really, because they'll think I'm crazy.
Because they'll think I'm stupid.
Right.
They'll think I'm silly. Yeah.
Well, good luck thinking about that for the next 20 years in your head.
Oh God.
So I know it seems weird to ask for what you need and to share your vision, and it feels like bragging. But if you don't brag about yourself, why should anybody else? And the other piece is, have somebody that you can really hold you accountable. Like Zander's a great coach, and he holds you accountable. He holds me accountable. We had a conversation a few months ago, and this was probably the best month I've had in quite a while.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. So, get the support you need. This stuff works, and I don't even know where my life would be had I said no. If I had said no to Jack because he had said no to me the first time, if I'd held a resentment about that, if I'd had a judgment about that, I would not be where I am today.
Yeah.
I couldn't say that I flew around on my publisher's private jet and had New York Times bestsellers and did not get most likely to succeed in school. Maybe best eyes, and that was about it.
Yeah. If you were to give everybody out there who's just starting their businesses, a lot of them looking to take their knowledge, their passion, their expertise, and build 6-figure, 7-figure business out of that passion and wanting to have a bigger impact on the world, what would be one piece of advice you would give to all the aspiring entrepreneurs that are really looking to make that impact and have that business?
I would say really know your why. Because if you're really clear about why you want this and it's for all the right reasons, then nothing will stop you. And even when someone says you're crazy, if you believe in your dream, go for it. Because that would be the biggest mistake.
Yeah.
Everyone said to me, this is crazy. Don't work for that hippie. This is never going to work. At this point at 52, when someone says it's never going to work, I go, yes, I'm onto something.
That means it's going to be great.
Yeah. and ask for help and ask for what you need. And don't be afraid to say you don't know something. Because when we don't admit what we don't know, we can make big mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of mistakes, what do you think was your biggest mistake when you guys were first starting off that looking back now you would have done differently, you would have avoided?
I think the biggest mistake that we made, every mistake, I don't know if there is such a thing as a mistake.
Yeah.
I might say we would have had a better attorney, but then again, we didn't really have an attorney and we signed a bad contract, but then when we actually hired a really good attorney, we got sued.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but my attorney did say to me at one point, you're out of your league and you need help.
Yeah.
And I was so, my ego was so devastated. And I said, I've sold 50 million books, how can you say that to me? And he said, well, if you want to sell another 50 million books, you're going to hire this guy that I'm recommending. And that guy that he recommended is still with me today, and he's my angel and my lifesaver. Yeah. And so I would say always
cover
be
your
open.
ass.
Well, yeah, CYA was my bookkeeper's password. And just be open to feedback. People, and that's a hard thing to do sometimes.
That's the scariest thing to do,
It's like, Oh, I used to say feedback is the F word.
Yeah.
And it's really it's the road to freedom when you can say, wait a second, tell me more about that. So,
yeah. Well, a lot of the time, the feedback that we really need the most is the hardest to hear too.
Oh yeah.
Because it's the stuff I know I fucked up. I don't want to do this. I don't want to
Yeah.
ask for this feedback, but you get it and you're like, okay, this helps me move forward.
Well, and especially if we don't admit it first, because if we screwed up, we pretty much probably already know it.
Yeah.
And so the last thing we need is someone to reinforce, oh yeah, you completely, blew this one. But it's important to be open. It just is. And the more transparent and the more honest you are. I mean, Jack and I have always been really upfront about what's up because there's no time to hide. So all those things together and getting the right friends and that's what I love about Goal Friends, because it's like people that are setting goals with you.
Yeah.
That's why I love
it's
the
the
fact you're
community.
coaching. It's the community. People need support. I mean, this is not a fun road to go alone. I don't care if you're a brain surgeon or you want to change the world. None of it's fun alone. Like, you have no one to laugh with and share things with and, cry with and get back up with. It's like...
Well, especially as an entrepreneur, a lot of the times when we go to pursue entrepreneurship, a lot of our family or our old friends might not understand. Yeah. It's not like you can go talk to them and you do feel alone. You feel like you're climbing this mountain and you're all by yourself.
Right.
And that's scary.
Well, and that's what's cool about your group, because you have a mastermind group where they get together and you're coaching them.
Yeah.
Because if you share your big goals and dreams with them, they'll support you. But if you share them with someone who thinks, oh my gosh, you're going to grow so much, you're going to leave me.
Yeah.
There's a conflict of interest. Even though it's lots of times unconscious, our families are afraid for us, or they're afraid we're not going to be available for them, or whatever it looks like. So you need to hang out with people that are as smart or as successful or more so than you. I would say be the weakest link in the chain.
I like it. Anything else you want to tell everybody out there in Facebook land?
No, just go for it. This life is not a test. Just do whatever it is that you love to do, and the rest will show up.
All right, awesome. So everybody out there, if you guys have any other questions for Patty, go ahead and in the comments below. She's like, I can't believe you're doing this right now. In the comments below, go ahead and go ahead and just comment below with whatever questions you have for Patty. I'll bombard her with them later, and we'll get you all the answers that you're looking for. So if you have any questions for Patty Aubrey, one of the most successful women I've ever met, one of the most successful people I've ever met, and an incredible inspiration to me. So if you guys have any questions or any comments, you just want to tell her how amazing she is, how much you love her, comment below with anything that you've got, and I'll let her know, okay? I'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.